Assalamualaikum. Good morning, students. Today we are still in Unit 7, Density, with me, Cikgu Noraihan. There are two learning objectives for today's lesson. The first one, at the end of the lesson, I want all of you know how to solve problems to identify methods to make water more dense. Second objective, I want you to know how to explain the results of observations about objects or materials which are more or less dense through written or verbal forms, sketches, or ICT in a creative way. Now look at this situation. Oh, it looks like the grape is more dense than water. Can this grape float on the surface of the water? Look, the grape sink. The grape will float when the water becomes more dense. How can that happen? How to make the grape float? How? So, that's what we will learn today. How to make water becomes more dense. Let me tell you the tips. Add salt into the water. First, add salt, then you stir, and then voila, the grape is floating. When salt is dissolved in water, the water will become more dense. Therefore, the grape that sank before can now float. Class, I want to ask you, what will happen if sugar is added to the water? Let's carry out an experiment. I want you to carry out the experiment at home. Open your science textbook on page 100. I want you to conduct let's test activity. The apparatus that you need is beaker. If you don't have any beaker, you can use your bowl, then spatula. If you don't have any spatula, you can use your spoon, cutter, carrot, 200 milliliter of water, and then sugar. The first step, carve out the shape of a fish from the carrot. Second step, place the fish model and 1 spoonful of sugar in the water. Stir to dissolve all the sugar. Then, last step, add more sugar and stir until the fish model floats. Don't forget to take videos of you doing the experiment. Videos of you doing the experiment as an evidence. Then attach it via our Google Classroom. Second objective, applications of density in life. Look at the picture. There is ships and anchors. Ships and anchors are made of iron. A ship floats on the surface of the water, but an anchor sinks. Do you know why? Can you tell me why? Yes, because the ships have a lot of airspace and then the ship is less dense than the water. Then anchor. Why? Because the anchor is more dense than the water. How about life jacket and fish farming enclosures? Why they are floating? Because they are less dense than the water. So now, activity time. I want you to open your science activity book. On page 66, look at the diagram. The diagram below shows the comparison in density of various objects and liquids in a beaker. There is a cork, oil, toy brick, water, grape, and syrup. State your observations of the cork. Look at the cork. The cork is floating, right? The cork floats on the oil. What is your inference on the cork? Why the cork floats? The cork is less dense than the oil. True or not? That's why the cork floats, because it's less dense than the oil. If the key is placed in the beaker, predict the correct position of the key by marking X on the diagram above. Look, what happens if you put key into the beaker? Where will the key be? Where is the position? I want you to mark X. Then state your inference for the answer above. Why the key is at that place? State your inference. Then question number 3. Complete the sentences below. Objects that and liquids that are then water will float on the surface of the water. What objects? The objects that is less dense than water will float on the surface of water. Objects and liquids that are more dense or less dense than water will sink. Then turn to page 66. Aisha puts some ping pong balls into the aquarium. These ping pong balls don't sink in the water. Answer the following questions. Why do the ping pong balls float on the surface of the water? Why, class? Because the ping pong balls is less dense than the water. Suggest an object that will sink when placed into Aisha's aquarium. Then tell why. Let me give you an example. The object is marble, because the marble is more dense than the water. Look at the picture and complete the sentence below. A lifebuoy can help save life because the lifebuoy is less dense than the water, right? Write it yourself. And then turn to page 68. Lim conducts activities A and B as shown below. Look at activity A. Answer the following questions. Observe activity A. Compare the density of water and the egg. Look, the egg sink, right? So, which one is more dense? Which one is less dense? The answer is the water is less dense than the egg. That's why the egg sink. Then observe activity B. Look, the egg is floating, right? Why does the egg float? Why? Because the water is more dense than the egg. How does the water become more dense, class? You have learned, right? And you have done the experiment, right? Because we add water. We add salt into the water. Tick objects that make water more dense. Is it sugar or condensed milk or cooking oil or sand? I want you to tick at the correct answer. So that's all, 3 pages only. So what will you do next? First, I want you to attach your experiments video via our Google Classroom for me to check. Next, don't forget to send your science activity book to school. Put it in my box. You have to send it to school, okay? Today and tomorrow. Last 12 p.m. Okay? Send it to school because I want to check. That's all. Thank you. Happy learning.